welcome to another episode of Tastebuds. I'm your host, Neisha Rogers, and joining me today is the classically trained, renowned Chef Palak Patel. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
I love it. So what are we cooking today?
All right, so we are gonna make some classic Indian recipes with a little twist.
Okay.
They're all gonna be vegan. We're gonna start with our dessert. So we're gonna do a rice pudding, which is called kheer, and then we're going to do a Indian curry, which comes from the state of Punjab, which is fritters in a yogurty sauce, which is
fun.
Punjabi Cutty. Then we're gonna make a classic basmati rice to go with it, and we're gonna finish it with a mango lassi, which is just a mango smoothie. Every culture has a sweet and savory rice dish. This one is India's. So kheer is something that we serve at traditional weddings. It could be served at a ceremony that you're having at the house. Your grandmother probably made it for you if it's your favorite little sweet treat when you were growing up. And it starts with a short grain rice. So we have arborio rice, which is what I used at my restaurant. It's a short grain Italian rice. And the reason I like using this is because it holds its shape, and basically all rice pudding is just low and slow, kind of giving it love and letting it just kind of simmer in some liquid.
Fantastic.
So for our liquid, we have two things. For the fat, instead of cream, we're gonna use coconut cream, which is just as creamy. And then for the milk part, we're gonna use oat milk.
Oat milk.
Now, if you look at it, oat milk really looks like regular milk.
Yeah, it does.
And I've got the extra creamy because we want all that fat and flavor.
Yes, we do.
So, the recipe is really, really simple. Rice pudding is not a complicated dish. Indian rice pudding has a couple of nice seasonings in it.
Okay.
And starting with, of course, you might know what this is, cinnamon sticks. So we're gonna put a cinnamon stick in the liquid to kind of perfume the liquid. And then here's something that you may not know, but this is really the hero of the rice pudding.
Really?
It's cardamom. If you want to smell it, it's got a minty, like really beautiful aromatic, right?
It's really subtle.
Yeah, so these are cardamom pods. In India, we'll put some of the whole pods in the liquid, so we'll keep those aside.
Okay.
And then when you want to get to the goodies in the center, you do need to crack open the pod. So you're going to take a mortar and pestle, give it a quick whack, and now, you see, there's little seeds.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's the good stuff.
Exactly. And then you can crush the seeds up, and it becomes a little powder. So now smell that. It's
wow.
extra aromatic.
Yeah.
We're gonna heat up the liquid a little bit.
Okay.
Drop the rice in. The only thing that you need to be mindful of, just stir it. Give it some love, and it'll do the rest. So I'm gonna go heat up the liquid, and we'll get started.
That sounds good. What's the purpose of you using oat milk over regular?
So when I went plant-based and I stopped drinking milk, there's a couple of good varieties of plant-based milks on the market. I just like oat milk. I always loved oatmeal, and so having oat milk is not that far-fetched. And especially people that have allergies to nuts, because nuts are another alternative for milks. In the liquid, I'm gonna drop in 1 cinnamon stick, a couple of cardamom cloves.
Okay.
And you're just gonna bring it to a gentle heat, and then drop the rice in.
Okay.
And that'll be that. Now, one trick to rice pudding is you never put a little bit of salt and sugar until the end. The milk has to be just plain Jane until the rice is almost done, and then you season it with your salt, your additional spices.
Yeah.
So we're gonna wait until this is almost cooked, and then you'll add your sugar. Right? So our milk has simmered.
Nice.
And you don't want to bring it to a boil, but a nice simmer.
Okay.
And then just add our rice in.
Wow.
And just stir it. Now we're going to lower the heat, and this just gently simmers, and we'll stir it every so often.
Okay.
And that is it. It'll
That's
take about 20 minutes. Yep. It's not hard. Rice dishes are They just,
wow, that's
they're
easy.
comfort foods because they need a lot of love. The thing that I like to put on this rice pudding, which is an extra indulgence, is a fresh caramel sauce. And caramel is really simple. Again, something that needs your attention, but very simple to do. In a pan, you just bring sugar to a temperature where it gets like auburn color, like a cappuccino color.
Okay.
And that is it. And you put a little bit of butter, and you can put a little bit of milk, and just get it like, yeah, that's it.
Does it matter what kind of sugar?
Nope. I usually just use, regular table sugar.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're gonna make a quick caramel, but that's our rice pudding.
Yummy.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's next?
The next is our entree. We're gonna make a Punjabi Cutty, and there are two components of it. The first is the fritter that's either baked or fried. We're gonna make the baked version because it's a little healthier. And then we're gonna drop the baked fritters into a really silken tofu kind of turmeric situation, a sauce. And then they both cook together and they're served over rice.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what I have here, the base of this fritter, most fritters use AP flour, but in India, we love chickpea flour. So chickpea flour, like the chickpeas that you know, chickpea flour is kind of a yellow flour. This is gluten-free. So we're gonna have chickpea flour and then just a couple of red onions.
Yeah.
I like to do my onions like long. So the next thing I'm gonna add is just some fresh ginger. Then I like to put a little bit of potato because this is a fritter and I like all of the carbohydrates. Now we are gonna add some heat. We're gonna add some
How much heat are we adding?
Just a little bit, that's it. Look,
Okay.
I'll go easy on you.
Okay, thank you.
We're gonna season it with some salt.
Okay.
And for a little pop of green, I do like adding kale. Now, this is not traditional. In India, they use a green called fenugreek.
Okay.
And fenugreek you can't find here. So the best next thing that I can find is a little bit of kale.
Oh, it looks good already.
Yeah, and the last couple of things that we're gonna do is Indian spices.
Okay.
This is an Indian dish, and we're gonna start with turmeric. So if you don't know what turmeric is a root, kind of like ginger, and it is really old and popular in India because of all the health benefits. So turmeric will color all the food yellow, gives it that golden hue. It's really good. A little goes a long way.
It's really potent.
Yes, a little goes a long way. The next thing we're gonna add is just a couple of coriander seeds, roughly. This one's a bit of a regional, completely not necessary. I like it, kind of like the flavor and the smell. Ajwan is what it's called. This is mango powder, which in India, they dry fresh green mangoes in the sun, and then they pulse it to a powder. So mango powder, and then the last thing, which is garam masala, it translates into warm spices. So this is a mixture of 9 different spices, including nutmeg, mace, coriander, cumin. The next thing we're gonna do is just add a little water with clean hands. I'm gonna make a dough, the fritter dough.
Wow.
Yeah, just gotta get in there.
Gotta love on it.
Gotta love on it. Everything is love.
Yeah.
Cooking is love.
I love that.
The dough is ready.
Okay.
And then we're gonna add just a tiny bit of a leavening agent. So you don't need much, but just a little baking powder. Just to get them nice and fluffy. What we wanna do is just make little, they're gonna look really gnarly, but I like them to be big so that you can kind of see them floating, and it looks beautiful when you plate the dish.
Yeah. I love that. It looks so good. It's gonna be so colorful.
Yep. And you just kind of mound them up.
Nice. Those are gnarly.
Yep. They're gnarly, but they're gonna look so beautiful in the plate. And then if you'll pop that in the oven, and that is it for our fritters, and let's work on our sauce.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, and now for the rice. This is a different rice than what we used for our rice pudding, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Very astute observation. So India's prized rice is called basmati rice. And all that means is this variety of rice is aged. And if you can look at it, I've got like side by side, you notice that it's kind of got a yellowish, like creamish color.
Yeah.
This is what you're looking for. You don't want that white, like with the short grain rice.
Yeah.
That's super, super white is not aged. The first thing before you do any kind of rice, not just this rice, you want to wash the starch off because the starch is what makes it stick. So we're going to run it in the water, and I'm going to show you the cloudy water. You want to get rid of that about 3 times, and then it's good to go. So I'm going to just rinse it.
Okay.
Now, I urge everyone that's going to try this, please be gentle with the rice. It is fragile, it does break, and if it breaks, it's not going to be those long, beautiful grains of rice.
Yeah.
So when you kind of try to get the starch off, all you're doing is just gently running your fingers, and the water is going to turn like really cloudy, right? So this is our 3rd time, and you kind of see the water is not as cloudy, and so that is what you're looking for. I've got a pot of water boiling. Just like you're making pasta, you want a big pot, and you want to bring it to a rolling boil with salt. And I put in a little oil, and then the only other things that, this is optional, but it really brings the perfume of the rice out. You want to do a bay leaf, a cinnamon stick, and then these are star anise pods.
Oh, cute.
Yeah, these are really aromatic, and they have a fruity scent to it.
Ooh.
So this will perfume our water really nicely in addition to the rice, and that's it. We're gonna let it go for 7 minutes until the rice floats to the top. You can keep a spoon and like taste it. It doesn't need to be crunchy. If it's crunchy, it's not cooked. But you wanna make sure the rice is nice and soft and cooked, but not gooey. And it takes about 7 or 8 minutes depending on your stove.
Okay, and to wash it all down, we're gonna make our, our mango lassi.
Yeah, absolutely. So mango lassi is the quintessential drink of India. It's made 2 different ways. When mangoes are in season, there's a particular type of mango that is king mango in India. From where I'm from, it's called Kesar mango.
Okay.
Now, if you're not lucky to get Kesar mangoes fresh by the caseloads, I got you covered.
Okay.
They do at the Indian stores sell the pulp, and so you can just use the pulp, which is what most Indian restaurants use. So you're gonna just pour that in.
Yes.
And a couple of things that are traditional to mango lassi, a yogurt, but in this case we have a plant-based yogurt which is made with almonds. And if you remember, for plant-based yogurts, there's not that tang. So we're gonna use that cheat again, and we're gonna use some lemon juice to trick our palate to thinking that it actually has regular yogurt. And it's nice, it kind of brings out all the fruit flavor. So we've got some lemon in there, and now my favorite spice, cardamom, is really amazing because it's not only used for savory dishes like we did earlier, or sweet dishes and savory dishes. So you're gonna put a little bit of cardamom, just a teaspoon.
Okay. I'm not gonna do
Hold it back. That's
perfect.
Plenty, yep.
Okay.
It's about half a teaspoon. And then we're gonna put some oat milk. You can use any kind of milk. There you go. And we're gonna find the lid and
Let it
work. Yep. Right, so our mango lassi is done. I'm just gonna give us a little taster shot before our lunch.
I'm not mad at that.
Yeah.
These are so cute. We talked about it a little bit, but tell me about the metal cups.
So these are stainless steel cups, and the precious thing about stainless steel is all of the utensils in like pots and pans in India and plates that you eat on, including these steel cups, is made out of stainless steel. And it's easy to clean, it's very sanitary, and it's very durable. I'm just gonna throw a little pinch of cardamom on top. And chin chin.
Chin chin. Okay, so everything is finished.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and plate it.
All right. Base of the cutty, we're gonna put this aromatic basmati rice. Mm-hmm. And
looks good.
now our cutty's been simmering away and the fritter's got like nice and juicy. We're gonna just go in on the top with that.
Wow. That looks good.
Drizzle, drizzle, drizzle.
So pretty.
Yeah. And now, one of the things that we do in Indian cooking, which you can do it at the bottom or at the top. I like doing it at the top for this dish because it's quite a wow factor.
Yeah.
Is a tempered oil. And all that means is we take whole spices, so cumin, which is really used in Indian cooking and Mexican cooking. The cumin seeds are bloomed in oil, so they perfume the oil with coriander seeds, and then there's a black cardamom in there. You can simply just do this with cumin seeds because they're readily available. And then you want to take the oil and drizzle it on top, just a little bit.
Wow, that looks fantastic.
Yeah. And then our dessert has been cooling, so our rice pudding is ready. You can fish out the aromatics that we put in there.
Okay.
And then you just take a bowl, you're gonna drop it in the center. The great thing about this kheer is you can serve it cold, you can serve it at room temp.
It's good both ways.
It's great either way. In the winter months, I actually eat it lukewarm because it's just kind of nice and comforting.
Yeah.
And then to that, we're gonna add the caramel that we made earlier. And
it's just sugar.
Straight sugar. We're gonna just drizzle that on top.
Wow.
Put a little crunch on top.
Fantastic.
And that is our dessert, and of course our cool, chilled mega lassis.
Yes.
All vegan. Look at this beautiful Indian feast.
Wow.
So you can be vegan.
For a day.
For a day, that's fine. Or for the afternoon.
Yeah,
I
for the afternoon.
I won't tell.
All right, so you ready to eat?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Well, this looks incredible. I am ready to dig in.
Let's do it.
Okay, so should we start with dessert?
I like your style.
Okay, let's do that.
I'm not gonna say no to that.
This looks really good. And it all kind of comes together. Mmm.
I love coconut.
Oh my God. That's really good. I want to also just start off by asking you a little bit about, your inspiration to even pursue, the culinary industry as a whole.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about who it was that you would attribute this onset of wanting to do this professionally.
My grandmothers, and then probably all the women in my family. We all lived in a multi-generational household, and so going to the market together because, wait for it, we didn't have a refrigerator. So every single meal had to be made from scratch. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 15 people. And so you just got used to being around food all day.
Wait, why didn't you guys have a refrigerator?
Because refrigerators are a fairly new phenomena. Most of the up and coming world doesn't really have refrigerators. You didn't need refrigeration because you don't cook the way that we do here, right?
Yeah.
Like you go to the market, you see what's fresh, you bring it home, you cook. But 15 people, you don't have leftovers. Everything was made from scratch and hot. So that was kind of my upbringing, and I was around food a lot. And so the women always found themselves in the kitchen and kind of gravitated to the kitchen as I got older myself. So.
Yeah, and as you got older, I think you have a very untraditional path, so to speak, to becoming a chef. Talk a little bit about the moment where you realized, I actually want to pursue this professionally instead of what you were doing before. Because you were in the corporate space.
I was, for about 12 or 13 years. I had this really not so nice moment where I was like, it was winter in New York, and I lived there for about 11 years, and my last winter, I was like, I wonder if I can get the flu so I don't have to go to work. And I think that was like my epiphany where I was like, I don't think you're supposed to be doing this anymore. Like, it's time for a switch.
Yeah.
So I quit and I went back to culinary school, and the rest is history.
As we fast forward a little bit, you graduate from school and then you just become essentially a star in the industry. you won the Food Network Chopped.
I was cooking at a recreational school on the weekends, and one of the owners thought I'd be great on Chopped. And without my knowledge, she submitted my information to the network.
Wow.
And at the time, I had taken an internship in the south of France, so I left for 4 months, and she's like, don't worry, they won't even pick you. And she was wrong, because as soon as I got there, I got this email from the producers saying, hey, and at that time, outside of culinary school, I'd never stepped foot in a commercial kitchen. She's like, just do it. Like, what's the big deal? And I was like, okay, I'll do it. And I won because one of the reasons is the cameras never bothered me. Like, I would just like look down, I'd start cooking, and I'd get into my zone. And I'm like, okay, and then I'd look up and I'm like, oh, it's time's up, right?
Yeah.
And because of that, I think training of like being around that much food and like without a recipe and without like just, we'd go to the market, mom's like this, this, and this, bring it back in a bag, like, and meal was on the table. I think my whole life I've been preparing for Chopped. And so we did the show, and then maybe about a year and a half later, Beat Bobby Flay called, and then I was like, oh my God, like Iron Chef. And I'm like, my only job there is don't burn yourself and don't serve any raw food. That was it. And sure enough, because it's Indian food, it was very close to my heart, and I just kind of did what I do at home.
Not to mention, you were the first woman to beat him.
Yes.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
This is very good, by the way.
Thank you.
I took a bite of it. Is there like a philosophy that you live by and an approach that you take to your cooking?
I'll speak for myself. I think no matter where you're trained, what food you're exposed to, I had the fortune of traveling the world when I was working at a corporate job, and lived in France, lived in Italy. I think one of the things that I come back to is the food that I grew up with, because that is the earliest stamp that you have on your memories, and that is probably the most authentic expression of you, your culture, your memories, because food is memories.
Yeah.
And so I often find myself going back to those origin recipes, I'll call them, because that's where I found love. That's where I find, kind of bonding and nostalgia with my family. So that philosophy is kind of in my head when I'm cooking, because it's me trying to share that with other people.
I love that approach. And when you are preparing, to cook for other people, right? Even in maybe like a professional setting, what is kind of the mindset that you go into, creating these dishes to have a high level of execution?
What is the mindset? I think just authenticity, right? Like, I want them to experience as close to what I was experiencing eating it, right? The same emotions, the same comfort, whatever it is. Like, I try and recreate that as much as possible, right? Because that's why we cook.
Yeah.
We want people to experience something. We want to bring them in, through food, and have them experience an emotion. And I think food does that so beautifully.
Yeah. Speaking of recreation, something that you're really doing, if people want to recreate some of, your classic dishes, you're writing a cookbook?
I am.
Okay. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. So I'm writing my first cookbook. And the cookbook is just exactly what I mentioned. I think throughout my life, going from a big family to not cooking at all, and kind of just working in a very soulless job. I mean, it taught me a lot, but it wasn't creative. And then to boomerang, into creativity, into something that I was, exposed to early in life. The book really highlights that, and it talks about, some of the things that my family made, some things that I picked up from travel, like a lot of, what I mentioned about stainless steel.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of little memories of like why we eat what we eat, why this is served at a wedding, or, just like memories. And it's completely plant-based, and it's an Indian-inspired book.
Yes. All right. So you kept it kind of light for me as far as like the spice is concerned, which I really appreciate that. But I want to put you to the test with some rapid fire questions.
Go for it.
You think you can handle those?
I think I can.
What is your second favorite type of food to eat when you're not eating Indian?
Mexican.
Favorite late night snack?
Ooh, popcorn.
Last dish on earth?
Dal.
Savory or sweet?
Savory, always.
Favorite time to eat of the day?
All day.
What food can you not stand?
Lima beans.
What's the first thing you eat when you wake up?
I just like have a tea.
What's the grossest thing you've ever eaten?
I attempted to. It was a duck egg, but I couldn't do it with like a baby duck in Vietnam. It was just, yeah.
What is your spice heat tolerance?
Some like it hot.
Favorite phrase to say in the kitchen?
Get it done.
There it is. Well, you got it done today.
Well, cheers.
Very good. Chin chin.
Chin chin.